Alex, I'm supposed to be writing my paper, but I thought I would record this while my wife isn't home, just because that means I can sit down here in the main living room and talk as loud as I want. This is going to be a particularly busy week for me. I still need to edit the PSAs that I recorded on Thursday. I have 2 shoots on Thursday and Friday of this week, and then I need to edit those videos. I have a PowerPoint due on Wednesday, paper due tomorrow, and then my 15-page paper is due next Wednesday. So speaking of writing, Alex, as you know, I'm a big fan of sci-fi. My wife had me read Ender's Game because I wanted to read it before we saw the movie, which of course made the movie less fun than it probably would have been if I had just watched the movie prior to reading the book, which is my usual dilemma. Do I read the book first or do I see the movie first? Because I love reading the books after seeing the movie because it's like rewatching the movie but with a whole lot of plot points that may have not been there. But then I don't want to be that guy who sees the movie first and talks about like, oh, I really enjoyed that movie, even though I've never read the book like all you people who have already read the book, and now I'm not as cool as you people. Which brings me to another question. When was it cool to know everything about something? Like, to be a complete nerd at Star Wars is now suddenly a cool thing, whereas previously you were like a social pariah. So when did that shift happen? Because I feel like it would have been a lot more popular if I had been aware of that shift occurring. Last night I created a new sport. Now this would be ideal for a sci-fi book, but I would also totally play it in real life. For those of you unfamiliar with Ender's Game, the characters in the story go to a place called Battle School, where all the students are separated into armies and they have to compete in this game. Now the object of this game is you have to open a door on the other end of the zero-gravity room, whereas the opposing army is trying to open a door on your end of the room. Now, to open the door, you have to have at least 4 members of your team who are unfrozen by laser blasts. Actually, the whole game is played in zero-G, which is completely awesome, and I look forward to the day when space travel is common enough that that game actually exists in the real world. So this brings me to my idea, because I love the idea of zero-gravity sports, and we just don't really have those. Slam ball is pretty close. I am a huge fan of Slam Ball, if anybody is familiar with the trampoline-based basketball game, which was a mix of like football, basketball, and gymnastics. Great stuff. Anyways, but that gets me back to the other idea that I had. So what if you had a sport where everybody competed underwater? Everybody would have small air tanks on their backs, not like the usual air tanks, something smaller. Maybe it would only last 20 to 30 minutes, so it would last like a quarter of the game, and then it would have some kind of sensor that would alert you when you were about to run out of oxygen, at which point you could tag out and somebody else could jump in. But basically, instead of a ball that you would try and throw, because for people familiar with Final Fantasy X, I believe, they had a game called Blitz Ball that was played underwater. But that always confused me because the balls seemed to travel like super easy for being underwater, and I always got confused. Like, how is that ball moving so fast when water should be slowing it down pretty significantly? So instead of a ball, it'll be sort of like a torpedo with a propeller, so you would aim it, and then it would, fly forward. And really, that's all I've really got, is people will be playing underwater. There would be some kind of torpedo ball that they would have to try and get into a goal by, guiding it and passing it using its own little torpedo-ness to maneuver it. And so I feel like that could be some kind of underwater sport that we could make, famous if we could design a stadium to play it in, because I feel like it would have to be a very deep pool in order to get a lot of maneuverability around it. It just makes me want to write a sci-fi book where that sport becomes a common occurrence, and then maybe it'll be like Quidditch and people will go out and actually try to play this sport. Because I feel like if you can create a sport in a book that's just realistic enough that people can do it, they will do it. Although Quidditch isn't really a very realistic sport at all, is it? But people are still doing that, which is really strange. Did you know that Brevard Community College, the college that I used to go to back in Titusville, Florida, when I was in community college, they have a Quidditch team, and that still boggles my mind. Fake sports aside, I'm going to get back to my paper now because it's not going to write itself. I tried to let it write itself for the last 3 weeks, and it's just let me down. Just completely let me down. So Alex, I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully on Wednesday I will have a little bit more to talk about, but maybe not.